Hello everyone and welcome to another video. In the last one that we did, we set up not DHCP, IPAM in a very basic manner where we were just using the regular inside folder in Windows. We didn't really have anything that would be a reliable source of storage. So we didn't have like a database server. So in the hopes of making our setup more complicated and our hopefully network monitoring a little bit more advanced and a little bit more sophisticated, we are going to add Microsoft SQL Server into the occasion. So before we begin, I just want to demonstrate what the end result is going to be. It's essentially pretty much like what we did in the last video, where we successfully set up IPAM server. And as you can see, we have IPAM server unblocked. But with the exception that if I can just run it over to the third one, we have it running from Microsoft SQL Server. Now, if I can just Management Studio, there it is. I just want to show you the database real quick, and then we'll be moving on to the tutorial. Come on, please. I do apologize that it's so lengthy. As soon as I know I've been saying this for like 10 videos now, but as soon as I have enough money to afford SSDs for the server, I will put SSDs in their server. But for now, we are all tolerating the slow speed of spinning Rust. My apologies. So the reason why while we're waiting for the management studio to load up, the reason why this video is late, it was supposed to be due about a week ago, is because I ran into a kind of a wall, realistically speaking. No matter how I would configure it, I just continuously came across a brick wall where nothing I would do would realistically speaking, nothing I would do would just work for me. And all the results that came back, it was server is blocked, nothing was populating, and I was having a hard time. But that being said, please go away. That being said, there's our IPAM database. Let's see if we can view some stuff. I'm going into unknown territory, digging into the little databases and the roles and stuff like that. But IPAM is running off of a MySQL database, and it's unblocked, full feature. And if we go to the IPAM server as well, just to demonstrate the one last thing, it is this is, get rid of this. So how was your guys' weekend? If it'll let me, there we go. It is actually populating IPs, and everything can be managed, as you can see, with the IPAM server, and it's working fantastic. So let's run down through all the things that you guys are going to need. So you're going to need a domain. So this number one, your first server is going to be your Active Directory domain controller. Number two, you're going to need a server or a virtual machine for the IPAM server role. And then last but not least, you're going to need a virtual machine or a server for the Microsoft SQL Server instance that you're going to be running. Realistically speaking, the way you would deploy IPAM is the exact same as you would deploy it without the Microsoft SQL Server configuration. But because we are here to learn, we are going to walk through it. So let's go ahead and minimize all of this. Let's go ahead and close Microsoft SQL Server because we have had a good time. And let's go ahead and minimize our Active Directory. So now I just need to log into my VMware and now I am going to launch another instance. There it is. And this is a very clean version Windows Server 2019. No features installed. GPOs haven't been applied, so I gotta apply GPOs, the whole shebang. So we're gonna start from the ground up. Hopefully it logs in, because at this point it could not even log. It could possibly not even log in. So we are going to see that in just a second. I guess I just have to disconnect and reconnect. My apologies. I'm gonna pause this and I'll come back as soon as I do that. All right, sorry about that. We are back. So a completely clean Windows Server 2019 deployment, domain joined and logged in with a domain administrator. Now, not the domain administrator, but a domain created domain administrator or a domain user that's joining the domain administrator group. I know it might get a little over the head, but just bear with me for just a couple of seconds, and then we're going to continue. So I might just show you guys so that you know. Basically, something that's not, as long as it doesn't say administrator and whatever the user here is has domain admin privileges, you are good to proceed with the tutorial. So once you've booted in and you've loaded the desktop, open Server Manager and then go into the Manage Add Roles and Feature. What we are looking for, just click Next until you reach Server Roles and Features, and then just go into, because we're not going to be dealing with any roles, but we're mostly going to be dealing with features. So once you go into the list of all available features for your server, go ahead and click on IP Address Management Server. Right? It's going to prompt you. These are all the requirements that you need to have. We understand. Click on Add Features and then click on Next. It will take a minute to install, and that's okay. After the installation has been completed, you will be ready to configure. So while that's taken care of, I will just pause it real quick and we will continue once it's fully done. Okay, feature is now fully deployed. Let's go ahead and configure it with MySQL. You are going to have your IPAM options once you click on the IPAM tab. And for the most part, step one is going to be pre-configured because it literally just connects to local server. So now we need to go on to step two, provisioning the IPAM server. It's not very difficult, but if you do end up getting lost, you can potentially end up chasing ghosts. So it's very important to. There's better explaining guides than what I'm doing right now. Mine is at best amateur level, but there are some pretty good guides, especially in Microsoft Learn, that show you how to properly do it, and especially taking notes into if you're deploying this into a production environment, the stuff to take into consideration, best practices, so on and so forth. So there is a lot, but I am just doing this for the principle of things. Okay, so before you begin, this is just a preparation, and then we are going to go ahead and configure database. So as you can see, it's giving us an option between whether we're going to be doing Windows internal database or Microsoft SQL Server. Now, for the purpose of this video, firewalls are turned off and everything has been set to pass. That being said, if you are in a production environment where security is necessary, there's two things that you need to worry about. You need to worry about enabling traffic. I believe it's TCP port 1433 to and from the SQL Server, and 48885, so 48885 to and from the IPAM server. And that should take care of traffic. Now, there's probably something hidden, but when I was going through the Microsoft documentation and I was literally hanging on by every sentence, I did not find anything extracurricular. So 1433 and 48885. Okay, we are continuing. So for the setup, we are going to select Microsoft SQL Server, and whether you want to do it by DNS or whether you want to do it by IP, the only thing to note is that if you're going to be doing it by DNS, do it as if so when you're inputting the DNS name, input it FQDN. So when X server, actually it's 03.myHomeOffice, and then database name, we're just gonna do IPAM2 and just gonna call it IPAM2 because they already have an IPAM database, and that was with getting everything that needed to be taken care. And it's gonna create a. We're gonna leave the create new scheme for the setup. Then we're gonna click on next, and we're gonna provide SQL credentials. Now you can leave it with IPAM server credentials. All that means is that whenever you are setting up your SQL server, you pardon, during the setup, you just have to add the server that you're deploying IPAM on to be a permitted server to log on, and then you can just use the IPAM server credentials. But because we haven't really gone through something like that, and for the most part, there's very, very few environments that are going to do that anyways, just go ahead and input SQL credentials. So SA and then whatever password you have. Now, for group-based policy, this is where, for the most part, you are probably going to come across the biggest difficulty that you're going to see in deploying of the server. So the ideal way to do it is a group-based policy, a group policy-based provisioning method. We are going to create the GPO prefix. Oops, hold on, never mind. So IPAM2, right? And then just remember IPAM2, and then click on next. Don't worry about underscores because those get added with the creation of the GPO. And then it tells you if you want to confirm. So this is what's going to become GPO policies, and this is how it's going to be done. And then it's going to just go ahead and click on apply, and then it's going to provision stuff. It could take a couple of minutes. I will put this on pause, and I will be back with you guys shortly. And if everything has gone according to plan, you are going to see the completion state saying that it has been completed successfully. So let's go ahead and click on close, and then we are going to configure service discovery. It will do a refresh to do IPAM server discovery. So let it do its thing because otherwise it will not work. Oh man, I think I broke it. Okay, there we go. So pretty standard stuff. Select your domain, select your forest, select your domain, click on add, all the services that you want to manage, click on OK. And then start server discovery. Again, this will take a minute. Just let it do its thing. Sorry. It will take a while. 2, maybe 3 minutes, depending on your environment. Okay, so server discovery has completed. Let's go ahead and click on step 5, which is going to allow us to select all. So if everything goes well, okay, if everything goes well, and you've come to this, you are going to see automated deployment has failed, and that is okay. For whatever reason, I don't know why. I don't know if this is a Microsoft feature deployment or where exactly the issue is, but this happens. So to fix this, we actually have to remote in to our Active Directory controller and log in with the same user. No, not administrator. Actually, you know what? We could probably do it with administrator too. So let's go ahead and log in with administrator or an administrative user. Regardless, it will work with both. So we now have to open PowerShell. So go ahead, open the search bar, type PowerShell, and run it with administrative privileges. Now, this is the command that you need to run. Just allow me to run through it. I won't actually run it because I currently have an IPAM server, and it will create conflicts in the network. You know what? Why the hell not? Let's give it a shot. So invoke IPAM GPO provisioning, which is the operation that told us it succeeded, but it actually failed. Domain, your domain, the prefix is what we set up as a prefix during the setup. Delegated GPO user. So this is rather important. Instead of doing it with your local domain account, this is where the importance of a domain user with administrative privileges comes in. You're just going to put that. Simple as that. This is where you're going to be delegating it to that user so that the privileges and the administrative rights are used and elevated so that you can properly deploy the GPO. And then the IPAM server FQDN is just putting in the fully qualified domain name for the IPAM server, which in our case is WinX server 04. Now, before we click enter, there is one very important thing that has to happen. Go into your group policy manager and under group policy objects, refresh and make sure that there's no additional policies that are with the prefix that you have created earlier. And then once you are sure that it's all good, go back into PowerShell, click enter, and allow it to control the process. Confirm first operation. Do you want to invoke do you want to create the 3 GPOs? Yes. And it's going to start provisioning and validating parameters. This also takes about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. If you have a slower system, it might take a little longer. If you have a quicker system, it will take a little less. Now, it's going to ask you a couple of times stating that the group policy requires each computer account to have permission to read GPO data from the domain controller. Just press on yes. Second time, press on yes. Press on third time, press on yes. And that's it. The operation is now complete. So for us to verify, we can go back into group policy management. Oh, okay, hold on. Refresh server access data. Okay, so for me, I don't know why you didn't end up creating those GPOs, but that's essentially you verify that the GPOs are going to be created, and then you get you run the PowerShell command, which is going to be linked in the video description as well as in the comment and in the previous video. You go through the prompts. You make sure that you have with a you delegate to a user who's got domain privileges, or domain administrative privileges. You allow all the users to have read permission, or sorry, the IPAM user to have read permissions from the domain controller. And then last but not least, you are going to, once the operation is complete, of course, you will refresh server access status, and then you are going to refresh server manager. And you will have access to IPAM as a managed service onto your domain controller. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for your continued support as always. As is tradition, I normally do it at the beginning of the video, but despite that, I want to thank you guys regardless. There was an explosion last week. It went from 720 subscribers to 740 subscribers. You guys are wild. I love it. Thank you very much for your support. Thumbs up if you liked it. Thumbs down if you didn't like it. Leave me a comment. And hopefully this deployment has taught you something. And if there's something you want to add, throw a compliment, throw an insult, whatever, just do it down in the comments. Thank you for watching. Have yourselves a great one.